Hello, DECA members. My name is Sarah Sunny, and I'm your Texas DECA District 7 president. And welcome to a new episode of Spotlights with Sarah. Today, and I know it's been a while, I haven't put out an episode in a little bit of time, but in anticipation of Power Trip, we have a lovely guest here today. Go ahead and introduce yourself through your name, association, position, and how many years you've been in DECA and everything.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Rohan Misra. I'm from Virginia DECA, and I'm the Virginia DECA Vice President of Chapter Engagement. And this is currently my third year into DECA, so I'm really excited to be working with my team and getting our association under.
I didn't know you were a junior.
I'm actually a senior, so I have didn't do DECA my freshman year.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how are college apps?
College apps is interesting. It's an interesting process. It's very time consuming, is what I've noticed. I wish I started earlier. That was like the biggest piece of advice I was given, and I wish I started much sooner than I did. So it's getting there. I applied to 6 schools early action, so
Mhm.
hopefully most of my number of schools are done, and I don't have to worry about anything over winter break.
That's super exciting. So go ahead and share your DECA journey. I think everyone has a different perspective, especially you starting your sophomore year. I think that is different than what a lot of kids go through. And also, what I've realized is that a lot of people come from big chapters, small chapters, large associations, small ones, but Virginia is pretty large. So, just kind of where your story has been and how you got to the point that you are today.
Yeah, so it really started in my sophomore year when we learned about DECA and FBLA in our personal finance class. I was really interested in dipping my feet into the business world. It's my first CTE course I took. And so I was like, this seems really cool. It's a sophomore year. So we were all online. And I was like, this is the perfect opportunity. I don't have to like really go in person anywhere. I can just join a meeting, attend, see what it's like, dip my toes. So I would like to say I'm like the product of the pandemic world almost, where a lot of members started to lose interest in their organization during the pandemic, but I've only started to like really get excited about DECA during my sophomore year, which is the pandemic year. And so that's where it really started is I started attending chapter meetings. I competed in personal finance or principles of finance, sorry, in my sophomore year, got to states. I didn't make it, it didn't pass my states. So my advisor sent me to the leadership series at ICDC. And that was honestly one of the best experiences I ever had. It was online, so I was able to access all 4 or 5 leadership academies, and I've learned so much from them. They taught me anywhere from dining etiquette to how to speak in a conversation to like posture and everything like that. So I'm really grateful for that, and I think that's really what brought me back to DECA my junior year. And from there, I was like, I really want to pursue DECA to the next level. And my chapter has been really supportive in everything I've been doing. They're a pretty big chapter in Virginia, and we've only been going up. So I'm really thankful for everything my chapter has given me and all the opportunities I've gotten so far.
Well, that is a very interesting story. It's actually very similar to mine because my freshman year was also the COVID year. It was the year that we did compete virtually, so it wasn't when everything got canceled. And in that sense, when you start off virtual and then you move into in-person competition, you can only get more excited about DECA, which is a good way to look at it. I know that I was very disappointed to experience my first year in high school in such a kind of type of way where you're like, well, this is such a fun organization, but everything is through a computer. But
Yep.
did it kind of prepped me in a way too, I would say, because I was overwhelmed as a freshman. There was a lot
Hmm.
of stuff being thrown at me, and we have a very large chapter. So there were already kids that were so committed to it. So, I mean, I would have loved in-person competition, especially because ICDC was in Anaheim. But
Yeah, I know. It seems awesome to be in Anaheim during that year.
but hopefully next year for me, but not for you because you are a senior. Unless you come back and like say hi to everyone.
I don't know. That would be awesome. Come pop up in Anaheim, see everyone. It seemed like a beautiful city to be in, but we have Orlando this year, so I'm really
That's
excited
so
for
true.
Orlando. One of the best cities to be at, so
It definitely is. There's so much to do. I think it's interesting just go from Atlanta to Disney World. So
I
very
agree. Yeah.
different environments. But in terms of that, so being an association officer comes with added responsibilities and just a different idea. And I've talked about this a lot in other spotlights of the difference between kind of the competition side of DECA and leadership. A lot of times they intertwine, as we've seen through one DECA calls and SR calls, if they discussed basically just saying, well, if you're a good leader, then you can also speak on competition, which is very, very true. But the paths to getting and excelling in both those venues are so different. So, as for you, how was it like running for Virginia State office, and what's it like serving in an office position?
Yeah. So for me, I've always been more drawn to the leadership aspect. I've always wanted to be um, someone that everyone can up to, and something that really inspires someone. So I always wanted that, and I, I think it started actually Power Trip last year. The team before us came out with a team blog, and I was like, wow, this is really what they do. Like they travel, they have a lot of fun, they work, they learn a lot, and they learn how to best serve their association. So I was like, this is something that really interests me. So it was actually around this time last year I started my state office application, and it's a whole process. We had to go through our chapter first, then we have like interviews with our association advisor, and we have nominating committees, and you get to actually campaign at state. So it's a whole process, and I've honestly experienced the most incredible journey ever running for state office. I became like 10 times closer to my advisors, and I've become so in tune with what my platform was for state office and how I want to pursue that in my state office term right now. And so getting to like that state office, or like getting to that candidate spot, was just the most rewarding experience. Like even if I didn't get the position, I would have been so thankful for the opportunity I've been given. But after getting elected, that was the most surreal moment for me. So in Virginia, how it works is you actually don't start your state office term until June 1st. And our candidacy, or like our SOC, is in March. So, it's a lot of excitement building up, but you also have to like, respect the old team and how they're continuing on with their term. So I was really excited after getting elected. I tried to hold it in as much as possible until June 1st. So when that June 1st date came along, I was the most excited person in the world. I was so excited to serve Virginia DECA, and it's truly been a rewarding experience thus far. I'm not sure, like ELS was one of the best experiences I ever had traveling to Salt Lake City. That was one of the best experiences. That was so cool. But then afterwards, our team also traveled to different cities and different chapters to talk to chapters as well as talk to advisors. So it's been really a great experience. A lot of talking, a lot of public speaking skills that play into a part of being a state officer. And I'm really thankful for that because it's really applicable to the workforce right now. If you
Mhm.
see, almost nine out of 10 jobs require you to be a good public speaker. And I've been only trying to improve those skills. Like I did debate my sophomore year and my freshman year, and that really improved my public speaking skills. But I
I'm
feel
a
like
debater.
DECA, are you a debater too? What
Yeah.
debate?
I've kind of been in all forms, but predominantly I do Lincoln Douglas and then
Okay.
extemp and oratory.
Okay. Oh, I did ooh, it was PF. I forgot I forgot the name for that though.
Public forum. Yeah, you're right.
Public forum. Yeah, okay, I was right. Okay. Yeah, I did public forum for 2 to 3 years. So yeah, so debate really expanded on my public speaking skills, as you probably know how intensive it is. But yeah, so state office has only advanced that, and I'm super, super thankful for that. So the journey so far has been great. So
Mhm.
I'm glad to be here.
I would have to say public speaking is it's a skill that's kind of ever growing. I know a lot of kids who come into DECA and they expect to make this jump instantaneously. And there is significant growth that you can make in a short amount of time, 100%. I've seen kids that wouldn't say anything to being able to hold multiple conversations and be comfortable in that environment. But they may not be polished or they may not be perfect, and that's okay. And I think it's important for any new members or old members or anybody watching this to realize that whatever your skill level may be in, it can always grow from there. And it just comes from consistently doing it, becoming more comfortable in your environment. I know for a fact, like
Hmm.
my debate coaches would tell me this every single day, like they do consistently, that sometimes I overuse my right hand when I'm doing hand
Right.
gestures. And it's something that you become conscious about. And it's the things that nobody realizes, but it
I com
enhances your presentation.
No, I completely agree. Practice is like literally priceless. It is the biggest thing that you can do to enhance your public speaking. I remember when I was running for state office, I would be sitting in my advisor's room, and it's like 2 to 3 hours after school has ended, and me and my advisors are all sitting down, and we're like fine tuning my speech or my candidacy video, and it was honestly like those 3 to 4 hours of practice is really what made a big difference on my public speaking. It was reiterating the speech 10 times over, not saying ums or likes or not using too many hand gestures. And it's just you start to build a self-conscious about that, and I feel like that's what really helps you be knowledgeable about your public speaking.
Right. And serving in officer positions, I think you and I can both attest to this. It's very important to be aware of other people around you. When you're a part of a team, you're doing presentations, and not only is everybody maybe at a different skill level when it comes to public speaking, but they have different styles in the way that they speak as well. We all have
Mm-hmm.
our own way that we speak, the way that we formulate sentences, or whatever that look like. That in order for it to look cohesive as a team, as a presentation group that's competing at ICDC, you have to work on that. And that has to be
Mm-hmm.
it's in personally, I think it's harder than training yourself to become
Right.
cohesive with the people around you. And I really figured that out my freshman year because
Mm-hmm.
I've always competed in a group of three in startup business plan. And I had public speaking training because I was in debate
Mm-hmm.
prior. I did camps the summer before I went to high school
Yep.
and stuff. So I was a
Yep.
little bit, I had a different level and a different way of doing things than what would be carried in normal conversation. My teammates maybe had some experience from standard communication classes, but they're not the same thing.
Right.
And becoming cohesive with that was a struggle that we had to face for sure.
No, I completely agree. Last year, me and my partner competed in principles. Oh, no, it was business operations research. It was a finance operations research. And so we really had to work on like becoming one. And I personally feel like team bonding is everything. The
Yeah.
more you know about your partner, the more you're able to interact with them, play off of what they say is really the best thing that can help set you apart when you're competing. And that's really what landed us in the top. Like when we got finalists at ICDC, so that's really what landed us.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So that's really what set us apart is we are already such good friends beforehand, and so we had that I guess bonding experience that every team gets. And I feel like that really helps you become a better team public speaker.
Mm-hmm. Now, personally, our group has never done scripts. It's something that
Mm-hmm.
if there are any Wakeland kids watching this, then you're well aware that I have a thing against scripts in my speeches. I just don't like them very much, unless maybe a candidacy speech or something. But in terms for content related stuff, I just kind of usually have bullet points that I go off of. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason for that is because I know how my partners work. So if they
Right.
go off the beat and I recognize the way that they speak, we can modify our presentation and we're not adhered and we don't get stressed out by what comes next. So
Right.
personally, that's what's always worked for me. I know other people, like if scripts work for you, great. They just haven't worked,
Yeah.
maybe haven't meshed with me perfectly yet.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's kind of been the best way that we were able to balance each other out is just, but we know the content that we have to hit. We have our different sections, but if one person, excuse me, misses something, then another can come in and cover it for them.
I
And it's
completely agree. It's almost like the debater in us. Like we only have like 2 to 3 minutes to prepare a rebuttal. We have to
yeah,
put as many bullet points, get ready for our rebuttals, attacking every single point. I
yeah.
completely agree. Like bullet points are honestly the best thing. But when it comes to prepared content, I do prefer like more structured so I know what I'm
Mhm.
talking about. But I completely agree. I love bullet points going off of that,
Right.
and it flows a little bit easier in my head.
Well, the next point is actually talking a little bit about tips regarding competition. So I guess we've already kind of covered that. But in regard to what you just said as well, I think that's true. So I think when you're working in a written presentation, particularly, you have the 10 to 20 page paper down. So you know the content.
Mhm.
Realistically, by the time you're prepping your presentations, you have the content down, which is why the bullet point system works. But when running for office or if you're doing a workshop over role play and you've never competed in role plays, then yeah, maybe something more structured. So you have to be able to kind of determine which way to go into. But with role play kids specifically, when they get their 10 minutes to prep,
Mhm.
you don't really have time to write out a script. So at that
I
point,
agree.
bullet points are kind of what your crutch to lean on when you're in rounds and you're speaking in front of that judge.
No, I completely agree. When I did my role play freshman or sophomore year, that was like a different style for me, bullet points in terms of no, I'm usually more ready to uh, talk about in a standard script, but when I'm talking in a role play, that's the only thing you can do is a bullet point. You only have 10 minutes, so I can definitely relate. Maybe that's probably why I switched over to written events, so it's more prepared. Uh, I'm actually competing in a written event this year too, so I don't know. Maybe that's like a subconscious
Which
thing in my
event?
head.
Which event are you competing in?
Finance operations research.
Okay, so is it the same one that you did last year then?
Yeah, it is the same one actually. So
I mean, it
it was
worked
something.
once, so
It worked once, and the topic is really interesting actually. So we were gonna steer away from doing the same category, but the topic is really really interesting. It's about hyper personalization and how you can personalize your content to the consumers in the business. So it's a really interesting topic. I don't know if you haven't decided your event, I'll definitely
no,
check that out.
we have basically the benefit of something like start a business plan is that it's always new for us. So
Mm.
I don't really get bored from it year to year because while the structure is the same, the business topic and idea is always different. But I would say the same is kind of true for ORs because you have a prompt every single year.
Yeah,
It's the events where I'm doing the same thing all the time that tend to kind of just not work, but
I
a
agree.
little bit of a change in pace when I'm competing.
Hey, maybe we'll test my role play skills at Power Trip.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a maybe you guys can see like a little refresher at Power Trip. So
Mhm.
in the future, if you guys see this and if I didn't win Power Trip, I'm so sorry for the role play mistakes I made.
Okay, so next question is, well, you've already said what event you compete in, but what are some of the other accolades and tips that you have in regards to specifics of your event or the ones that you have competed in?
Yeah, so for Principles of Finance, it's really just nailing down that test. What really makes you stand apart from everyone else is getting that like 96, 98, 100 test score. That really, really goes a long way. Because I think like the passing is like a 70 or an 80.
Mhm.
Um, but the higher you can score, the more you stand out. When you get a judge in a role play, they're looking at 4 to 5 or maybe even 10 kids in the same category. So they're realistically going to have 1 to 2 kids that really stand out to them. So those 1 to 2 kids are going to like score really well on their role play. So the test is the best way to really make sure you stand out in that aspect and then hopefully stand out also in your role play. And then for my written event that I did last year, that one was just really starting early. When you get to operations research, you tend to almost push out like your actual like the work you have to do for it. But you push it out into like later in the year, maybe December, July, or January. And my best tip is just starting early. I think me and my partner had 6 new ideas when we got to December because we already worked on most of our work beforehand. So that's what I'll do for operations research. Specifically, though, for the presentation, what I've realized is making it funny, making it interactive with the judge,
Mhm.
even though they may not respond. Making a joke out of yourself or just having fun is the best way to really entertain your judge, almost in a way. I know they're not allowed to show any emotion or etc., but it's one of the best ways I found to work. So yeah, that's my little wisdom.
No, those are all fantastic tips, and especially with the test thing. I think I know personally we've seen that a lot in our chapter that they'll do amazing on their presentations, but they're losing points in the area that they can guarantee points because
Right.
you can't guarantee necessarily the stuff that's subjective when it comes to a judge because there's a certain level of, well, maybe the judge just didn't like your topic or whatever it was.
Hmm.
But when you're talking about a test, it's you either get it right or you get it
Standardized. Yep.
right. So it's really important that kids study for it, and especially with DECA Plus being released,
Hmm.
so many great tools for them to not only have flashcards, but to also have
Right.
like practice tests to go back 5, 6 years.
And also, even if they don't you don't have Deco Plus, like it's an awesome resource in the first place. But there's numerous Quizlets that people make, or I know Texas Deca also has like a website full of helpful links. At least I looked at them for my operations research. So there's the internet is endless. Like you can find literally anything you need for your competition to prep, and honestly, use it for your advantage because it's there for you to use.
For sure, Texas has so many great resources that
I
have been
agree.
there by the current state officer team, but also just past ones, which is definitely stuff that we've used a lot. And the same thing goes for kind of the presentations when you were talking about just having fun with it. For the 15 minutes of your life that you're in that room with your judge, you should be passionate about it.
Right,
And I think that's sometimes where kids lose points. They'll be a bit monotone talking to a judge
right,
because they're talking about this weird business idea that they really maybe don't actually care about, that they're just doing it because they want to compete. But for the 15 minutes of your life, that should be everything to you because you've put so much work into
right.
setting up for that presentation. And then after that 15 minutes, you can have your free time. You can go do crazy things in the land with your friends. But you might as well
Mhm.
just put your best foot forward if you're going to be in there anyways.
No, I completely agree. Being passionate about your topic is one of the biggest things that can really set you apart. I know there's a couple members that would, do the topic that their advisor told them, or their parents told them, or their parents work at that company. But if you're not really passionate about it, it's really hard to get that, convey a passion or like a fun sense in your presentation. So I think that's really the point where like you have to choose something that you know that you will be passionate about. That's one of the main reasons why I chose finance as well. It's not a really loved topic by many people, but I personally love finance. I don't know if you saw my story, but like when the Little Miss categories were coming out, it was like Little Miss Finance. I would
I
be
think I did
reposting that.
see that. I'm
Yep,
pretty sure I did.
I'll be reposting that every day because that's one of my favorite categories. And it's a lot of fun. Like once you sort of learn the niche of finance, it gets really interesting. So that's what I'm passionate about, and that's why I've been competing in finance almost all 3 years of my DECA journey.
So my partner, Sam, she kind of does the finance side of our presentations because there's three of us. It makes it easy to split
Mhm,
up certain sections. Now we still collaborate because it's hard not to, but essentially, she didn't. She wasn't necessarily inclined to doing finance at the beginning of our freshman year, but her parents are in it, so she was just like, sure. But after we kind of started researching it, like we would be on FaceTime calls with her dad, and he would just
mhm.
walking us through what net profit is and different. It was really fun actually, but I actually started to get interested in it too. I was like, this is kind of fun, solving the problem, figuring out what
Yeah.
materials where. I mean, it takes time and it's tedious to do it in a paper, but it's also kind of fun. So I will admit to that, even though I will not probably
Yes.
be competing in any finance events in the next year.
Yes, we love finance. I personally love it, so I'm trying to recruit more people over to my
Yeah.
side.
But I will say, definitely, DECA is not for one type of student. It's not for one person who only wants to go into business or only wants to go into marketing, whatever that is. And if you actually look at statistics, I mean, I know for a fact Texas DECA has these because I was shown them of what fields DECA members go into. There's a wide variety of I mean, there's so many members that you can't expect them to all go into one thing. So for me personally, wanting to go into the medical field, choosing startup was easy because we could choose a product that was a medical innovation. And you can always find a way to make your interest work. And when you have something from automotive services to fashion design, it's
Mhm.
not hard to find something that works for you.
No, I completely agree. One of my best friends competed in automated services, and he wants to be a car manufacturer, and that's his liking. So like, there's something for him. I know one of my other friends wants to be a lawyer, and so I think there's business law or there's team ethic decision making. Those are the top two things that really interest him. So there's a wide variety of competitions that you could do to meet your interests. And I guess that plays into like what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about law, do those do those activities or do those competitive events that are more law focused, or same thing for finance and for automated services. Though I never see myself doing automated services, it'll be really interesting to see how it works. So who knows?
Okay, so at first, I've said this a few times when I first started the series, I would ask what the guest's most fun memory in DECA was. But I quickly realized that the more interesting question is to ask what your funniest moment in DECA is. So something that just there's always something at some trip, at some conference, anything that just had you on the floor laughing.
Okay, this is interesting actually. I'm trying to think of a specific. Okay, I think I have one actually. So it was on our way, or it was on our way back from our state leadership conference, and I was traveling with my chapter. And that's just when I found out I got newly elected as a state officer. And so I was like, I was still in like a little like panic frenzy mode, little nervous, like, wow, this is like reality setting in almost. And so we get back to our school. So our state conference is about 3 to 4 hours, I believe, away from us. So we get back to our school, long drive home. I'm almost dead asleep, and I wake up and I see everyone has their phone on me, and I'm completely confused. So I thought they were taking a video of me sleeping, and clearly that wasn't the case. So I wake up, I get my stuff, I'm like put my headphones in, I'm asleep, right? Pretty much. I come off the bus, and I hear like the most distinct voice ever. It was actually my sister, and she was screaming, "Congratulations!" And it was my whole family friends, all my friends that don't do DECA. They're all there to celebrate like the new candidacy that I got for state office. So it's not really that funny, I guess, but it's one of the most memorable experiences for me. And I was until this day, I was so confused why there were so many phones on me. Like I thought they were recording me sleeping. I thought they were going to post it later or show it at our state conference the following year. But it was definitely one of the most funniest experiences for me, as well as the most memorable. So
Has to be one of the sweetest things I've ever heard happen to a DECA member. That is amazing that your family and friends did that
I
for you.
know.
But I actually really hope somebody recorded you sleeping because I actually think that'd be a really funny thing to put in.
I think I have it. I have one me sleeping on I sleep everywhere. So I have like pictures of me sleeping everywhere. Like I know our team training, we're all by the pool. I'm asleep by the pool. Like I'm not even in the pool. So I would definitely have to send you some pictures from that. But yeah.
That's amazing. So, last thing is what is some just DECA advice or just any advice that you'd like to give to members? It can be about competition, it can be about being an officer, or it can just be about their journey in DECA.
Yeah. So I would say the biggest advice I could personally give is don't be afraid to take that next level. It could be in competition. Don't be afraid to step up. Like, yes, I want to go to ICDC. I know I can win. Or, yes, I want to be a state officer. I know I can do this. Or, yes, I know I could single handedly carry a community service project. It can be in any aspect of DECA, but just don't be afraid to take that next step and really see where it goes. Because right now we're all in high school, we're all experiencing what DECA has to offer, and really, you should take full advantage of the opportunities that you've been given. And I feel like a common perception of DECA is competition. It's marketing focused, it's business focused, but there's so much more to that. There's leadership skills that you gain, there's community aspect skills that you gain, and just don't be afraid to take advantage of all the opportunities that you have and taking that next step. So that's probably the biggest advice I would have for all members to hopefully use.
And I think that is very much in line with every single slogan that DECA has had over the years. If you think about it, next level, same thing,
Yeah.
maximize momentum, get the edge. All of them essentially boil down to this one idea of taking that next step forward and really making the most out of every opportunity and time that you have in this organization. So that is probably the best way to end this episode. But I do also quickly want to give you another virtual in-person type of congrats for being named the ESRA member of the month. It is such an
Thank you.
honor, and it is you definitely deserve it. And yeah, I've seen all the work that you've done on social media, and I think that you're doing a great job in your term.
Thank you so much. That actually means a lot. And I've been noticing you've been really on top of your DECA game too. The social
Trying
media
here.
tags, the DECA challenges every month or every day. So congratulations. This series is awesome.
Thank you.
I think you're really taking advantage of everything DECA has to offer. And it's a great example of, the ultimate DECA member. So props or hats off to you. That's
Thank you.
something really cool. So I
Yes.
remember I was watching the first episode and I was like, wow, this is something really unique. I've never seen this before. So, yeah,
Well,
hats
I
off
mean,
to
I
you.
have to say, I definitely got some inspiration from Devika for starting her series. I was actually I was chosen to participate and share about competition experience. I think she was definitely one of the first people who kind of started off the trend of doing a video series for DECA, which hats off
I
to
think
her.
that's awesome. Yeah. I
And it
think
just works that way. It's all interconnected.
right, and I think you found your niche within our mini deco world. So
Yeah.
spotlights with Sarah are awesome.
Thank you. So I am so excited to see you tomorrow at Power Trip. There's so many people coming. And yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and one last thing. This is episode 10. So we've hit the double digits now.
Yay!
First one. I was like really excited for this episode because of that. So congratulations for being episode 10 of Spotlights with
Thank
Sarah.
you so much for having me. This is
Yeah, of
awesome.
course. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording here. But for everyone else that's watching, thank you guys so much for watching episode 10 of Spotlights with Sarah. I will see you guys in the next episode, hopefully coming kind of soon. I know I took a little bit of a break here with DECA month, but I'm going to keep them on for just a second here, and I will see you guys later. Bye.